What's good, y'all? My name is Lucas Lyons, and we got some things to talk about. Long time no see. I haven't made a video since before the election, I believe, and here we are. It's the January 19th. It's the night before. It's Trump's last hours. The night before the election, Joe Biden will be sworn in as president tomorrow. So will Kamala Harris be sworn in as vice president tomorrow. And a lot has happened since my last video and where we are today. And, we always talking about racial puberty here on this channel. This channel is called Racial Puberty. Everybody's going through that racial journey, building their racial stamina to have these racial conversations and have a better understanding, a clear understanding of how race plays a part not only in America, but on a global context, right? And I talk about my own racial puberty journey here as well. And I had to come on here the night before inauguration. It's Trump's last couple hours as president. And, I've said this in videos in the past. The state of Black America is not necessarily going to change with Trump out of office. Things are not going to just become better overnight because Trump is out of office all of a sudden. But he was a moron. He, in some ways, he was a genius. The way that he, I think a new book is coming out about his rhetoric and how he sort of used weaponized language and how he sort of galvanized a group that was already discontent. So in some ways, sure, some could consider him a genius. He was a moron. There's a lot that he didn't do right. So I'm not mourning him not being president. I'm also not excited for the new administration to come in for reasons I've discussed in the past and reasons I'll continue to talk about now. And to jump into racial puberty part, what is this? Part 11? Part 12? Got the do-rag on with the turtleneck. Where they do that at? It's COVID, not trying to get a haircut, just trying to keep things, not as nice and tight as possible. But we're going to jump right into it because it was Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday yesterday. It was also, the national holiday, MLK Day. And, growing up, what was it with MLK? Even to this day, where some of these kids talking about, I have a dream, thinking about all he wanted was integration. And, you talk about black kids and white kids at the hilltop, at the mountaintop. And, that is the speech that, a lot of white liberals also like to talk about as well. I know there's been a lot of speech online about how people use Martin Luther King Jr. quotes, 364 days out of the year and yada, yada. But I think it's important to understand that, as this Intercept article says, people hated Martin Luther King Jr. at the end of his life before 1968, before he was assassinated, right? People just really disliked this man. It was not only in the white community, it was some people in the black community as well. But I don't want to talk about how much he was hated, but I just want it to be recognized that this man, he was detested by the liberal establishment, not by, Southern Republican right. He was detested by the liberal establishment because he was more radical than people portrayed him as. Most Americans didn't approve of Martin Luther King Jr. before his death, the poll show. About 2/3, I think it was the number of Americans, had an unfavorable opinion of Martin Luther King Jr. in 1966, 2 years before he was shot. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that. It's important that we know that when Martin Luther King Jr. was killed, he was less popular than Donald Trump is today. That was published back in 2018, 3 years ago now. And I think it's important that we recognize that because, I didn't recognize that growing up. I really idolized the man. And in some ways I still do, what he got done. But he was not a popular man. He was not a popular man. He was not the sort of angel Jesus Christ figure that he sort of portrayed himself to be, and that the media now portrays him to be. He did some things that I'm sure he wasn't proud of. He did some things I'm sure Coretta King wasn't proud of. His children weren't proud of. And I say this when we talk about racial puberty. I say this to understand he was only human. He was quite a phenomenal human when it came to rhetoric, when it came to intelligence, when it came to communication, when it came to intelligence. He was quite a phenomenal person. And even then, when it comes to intelligence, he was accused of plagiarism. But I say this all to say, it's not proper to I sort of deify these people. You know, I look up to Martin Luther King Jr. It's not proper to, I would say, to deify him because he had his own issues as well. But one can't deny the progress that he made and the things that he fought for and how influential he was specifically in the Black and the ADOS community and what he was able to accomplish. And, you know, there are a lot of arguments out there that integration and what he spoke about was not it. And we can, you know, look at some of the numbers today. You know, some conservatives, specifically Black conservatives, looking at you, Thomas Sowell, like to talk about how better things were when things were segregated before the civil rights movement. And if you look at some of the numbers and some of the statistics, that kind of makes sense when you look at, you know, birth rates and unemployment, and you know, when you compare that to Black teenagers and white teenagers and how the rates were. But we live in a different age today, you know? So, and Martin Luther King Jr. even sort of foreshadowed it to himself. He said, yes, we fought for integration. One of my favorite quotes. Yes, we fought for integration, but he feared that we're integrating into a burning house. The burning house being America. And some things were literally burning about 2.5 weeks ago. And we got to talk about that. You know, he talks about that burning house, and I'll never forget that sort of imagery that he had, you know, talking about the burning house. The other thing about Martin Luther King Jr., you know, I got a couple books of his, you know, The Why We Can't Wait, you know, got the letter from Birmingham jail in there. You got this, I think it's the most authoritative biography on Martin Luther King Jr. By David J. Garrow. They talk about a lot of, you know, this book really humanizes him as well. Highly recommend it. It's kind of thick though. And then, you know, my favorite book by Martin Luther King Jr., Where Do We Go From Here? And this is when he says it quite clearly. Black people need reparations. Like, it's going to take, at the time, billions of dollars because the government used billions of dollars in resources to make sure that the Negro was in the position that we were in. And, you know, it was really this book that really opened my eyes to, and that put me on to other Martin Luther King Jr. works that really made me understand the radical person that he was, because he fought for economic justice and whatnot. So I just wanted to start off the video letting us know Martin Luther King Jr. is not really what academia taught him as, or teaches children, or, you know, in education. And so I think it's important that we do that. And as a teacher, I'm glad I'm able to talk to my kids about this, you know, have honest conversations about who MLK was, what he fought for. People hated him because he was radical. He talked about reparations. He talked about the ADOS community very bluntly, you know. And then shout out to, may she rest in peace, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, Racial Matters, talking about the FBI. Talking about the FBI and how, you know, they sent him letters and they were spying on him for years and making sure there's no malcontents. And I say that to say, you know, to sort of segue in from Martin Luther King Jr., may he rest in peace, to, you know, Racial Matters and how, like, what else do I need to say about what happened at the Capitol on January 6th? I mean, I wanted to make a video then, but, you know, life gets in the way. Things happen. We're busy out here. I wanted to make a video, but what hasn't been said already about what happened on January 6th? We got us 99.9% white people storming literally one of the most secure, where it's supposed to be one of the most securest places in the country, if not in the world, the Capitol building. You got Ayanna Pressley saying panic buttons were ripped out. You got police taking pictures with some of these insurrectionists. You got police, literally videos of them letting people through. I mean, it's sort of like, I don't want to say it's the Twilight Zone, but if this wasn't the clearest indication of the difference in treatment between Black people and white people, I don't know what is. And, you know, there's an argument about classism and, you know, it's the class. They're just, you know, financially upset because of the economic situation. You had an Olympic gold medalist there, I believe. You had lawyers there. You had state representatives there. I mean, and I'm sort of glad I didn't make a video specifically about it, because I'm sure you can go to Yvette's channel, you go to Tone's channel, you go to Black Truth's channel, Black Authority's channel, you go to Tim Black's, you can go to all these other Black media outlets, and everywhere is saying the same thing. Eddie Glaude Jr. had a really good piece about it on NPR, talking about, like, Come on now. Like, I don't know what else to say that hasn't been said. But I made a video a couple months ago talking about, what was it? White militias ready. What was that? Oh, October 26th, ready. And I thought it was going to be on election day, but it happened January 6th. It might happen on inauguration day. White militias ready. 2 National Guard members removed from Biden inauguration over militia ties. This was at 11 a.m. this morning. A couple hours later, 3 o'clock today, a dozen U.S. National Guard troops removed from inaugural duty after vetting. You know the numbers ain't going to stop there. You know the numbers are not going to stop there. 1 Guard member was removed from duty after troubling text messages. I wonder what those text messages said. Another had been reported on a tip line. I mean, last week, the Virginia National Guard said Jacob Fracker, an off-duty police officer charged in connection with the violent riots at the Capitol, was a corporal in the state's guard and serves as an infantryman. The number's not going to stop at 12. And, it just makes me nervous because, Tone said it in his recent video, Yvette said it in her recent video, Black people should be nowhere near inauguration. God bless you, brothers and sisters who have to be in D.C. while this is happening. But I forgot what they call them, white ghosts, I think it was in my last video. About these people who are, and go look at my October 26th video. What is that? Racial Puberty Part 10? Go look at that. The white militias in training, ready, and they seek out vets. And you had vets also on January 6th waiting there. There were IEDs, improvised explosive devices, IEDs planted around the Capitol. What? And I don't think we're talking enough about those IEDs. Not only that, did we completely forget what happened to the Wolverine Watchmen in Michigan who tried to take over the Capitol? I ain't hear nothing about them. They ain't been plastered up on the news. I don't know too much information about them, but if it was a Black person, they would have elementary school photos up there. They grades from middle school. They grades from high school, what extracurriculars they was in. And don't tell me that's not true. After what happened on January 6th, I dare any any white person to try to dismiss claims about what white supremacy really is in this country and how there are 2 separate systems. Don't forget about the Otto Kleinberg report out for that Lyndon B. Johnson, I think, put in place back in the 60s. There are 2 separate Americas, 1 Black, 1 white. Come on now, racial puberty, get it right. Understand that. Right? We talk about the allegory of the sun in the cave. I was in the cave for a while. Coming out the cave, seeing the sun, white supremacy, racism for what it is in this country. There are 2 separate Americas, 1 Black, 1 white. It's really getting crazy out here, and right-wing terrorism, white terrorism, is only going to continue to get worse. And what Black people have been saying, a dozen U.S. National Guard troops. Come on, there were police officers at the riots at January 6th. Black people have been saying this forever. Black vets coming home, World War I, World War II, getting lynched, getting killed just because they were trying to serve their country. This is what ADOS is about. Ain't nobody running off this land that our ancestors built. And it gets me really upset when we have clear instances of these things happening, and yet there are still white, Martin Luther King Jr. talked about it. It's not necessarily White Citizens Council. It's not necessarily the Ku Klux Klan. It's the white moderate, the white liberal that you got to watch out for. First we had 2, now we have a dozen. How many more are going to be at inauguration tomorrow? Ooh, it's chilling to think about. It's really chilling to think about. Black people have been saying this for a while. It's really chilling to think about. Video going on a little long, racial puberty out here, part 12. But I also wanted to, talk about this real quick.
I mean it, especially those moments and especially those moments when this campaign was at its lowest ebb, the African American community stood up again for me. At its lowest ebb, the African American community stood up again for me. You've always had my back, and I'll have yours.
And I'll have yours. Is this your king? Now we got black people trying to demand policies and legislation, well, policies and executive orders from Joe Biden. Well, I highly encourage you to check out this NPR that came out 2 days ago, Politics Update, how Joe Biden will spend his first days as president. God bless Mar Eliason. I think she talked about, she gave some lip service to criminal justice reform, possibly, maybe, but Tim Black already made a video about him telling the Black Caucus, telling Black civil rights leaders, we not pause on that. We not doing that just yet. Nah. We not. That's not what this is about. It's a little too soon. Again, Martin Luther King Jr. said, racial justice versus racial tolerance. You're moving a little too fast there. Criminal justice reform, moving a little too fast there. Let alone reparations, because that's what real. If he was really about that business, if he was really about having our backs, it would be about making sure reparations gets put in place, HR 40 gets a proper draft. That's what pushing, making those executive orders, pushing for HR 40s, making sure you have vocally stated these things and putting it out there. You are president of the United States. That's what having our back looks like. Putting a pause saying we're going too fast, even on criminal justice reform. Come on now. But we even got Kamala Harris talking about, am I going to sit here and say I'm going to do anything for black people? No. But she's going to be coming out to that Howard, and shout out to Howard, shout out to Howard. A couple people from Howard. Shout out to Howard and the marching band, getting that opportunity. But she's sort of using them as props, the same way, she was using ADOS as a prop. Joe Biden promised to do day one on his first 100 days as president. Okay, responding to COVID-19, absolutely necessary. Home evictions, foreclosures, important. Pause student loans. Yeah, sure. 1.9 trillion in COVID relief. Absolutely, we need that. Overturning Trump's actions, the Muslim ban, rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement. Sure. Day one promises, COVID response, immigration. Shout out to the Black and brown community. Absolutely. Immigration, climate change, transgender rights. Yes, absolutely. Environment, first 100 days, economic recovery, build back better. Yes. Climate, for sure. Repealing tax cuts. Guns, background checks, important. Violence. Yes. Violence against women, absolutely. I love women. Shout out to my women out there. Equality, push for the Equality Act, more protections for LGBT Americans. Wait, I'm control find black. Okay, African. Okay. People thought they was playing games. They're like, no, he's going to do something. We know his record. We know Kamala's record. First 100 days, nothing for black people. Especially the black community. You always have my back and I will have yours. Come on. But we've been talking about this. The whole ADOS community been talking about this, And I know there's some drama going on in the ADOS community right now, but Yvette and Tone been talking about this. We knew what was up. We knew what was going to be up. It's kind of sad because now we're going to be demanding policies, but he already got the vote. He's already in office. He's getting sworn in tomorrow. And like Yvette and Tone said, they're going to point to Kamala and say, "We got shut up. We got this black woman as vice president. I did that. You getting nothing else from me." Come on, that's that burning building MLK was talking about. Come on now. One more time for the people, louder for the people in the black.
Especially those moments when this campaign was at its lowest ebb, the African community stood up again for me. You've always had my back, and I'll have yours.
I don't know what else to say. I just wanted to get on here real quick before inauguration comes up tomorrow. I don't know what else to say. But just racial puberty out here. We gotta, the nuances just grow deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And I'm blessed to know the ADOS community. I'm blessed to be a part of the ADOS community. It really helped me build my racial stamina, build my understanding of how race is in this country. And, we got to keep advocating. We got to keep the information spreading. We got to keep the education going. And, racial puberty part 12, racial tolerance versus racial justice. Martin Luther King Jr. was just another man. God bless him. He was just another man. Made some mistakes, but he also pushed the agenda. He pushed it forward. Was too radical. Now we got Joe Biden and Kamala's in office, and just because they're in office, and I was just listening to this NPR thing, I forget what it is. It came out today. I'll put in the chat below. And not the chat below. I'll put it in the description below, talking about, apathy grows when a Democratic administration is in office. But I'm proud of ADOS because I feel like it's going to push us even more because, it's reparations or nothing at this point. We got Sandy Derry talking about it. It'll take another 200 some years for Black people just to get to where the wealth that white people have. And it's not just about having the wealth that white, it's about being able to hold our own, to create communities of our own, it's about racial justice and not racial tolerance is what it is. And what we need is justice. So that's just going to be it for me. I had to get on here before inauguration tomorrow, give my 2 cents. And check out that Military Ready and Waiting, Racial Puberty 10. Check that out. Check that out for me. I talked about this. I talked about what was going to happen at the Capitol. God forbid something happened tomorrow. 2 National Guard members. Now we got a dozen. Sheesh. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. In the words of Malcolm X and Demcad, the future belongs to those who prepare for it today. Peace.